Welcome, everyone, to the Hot Tag Hooligans Wrestling Podcast Show with myself, Ehren and Tom. On this episode, there's still always a lot to discuss in the world of pro wrestling, and so that's what we're going to do with an episode of The Blind Tag. Tom, how's it going?
Doing well. I enjoyed my day off. Got to catch up a little bit on Raw. Still haven't made it to NXT yet, but, been a pretty productive day in the world of wrestling, so.
Yeah. And for anyone, we're not going to touch the Vince McMahon stuff. It's just too much for us to touch and discuss. And to be honest, I don't know enough fully about it to discuss it. And there's always two sides to every story, so we won't go there with that. I want to talk about your shirt, though. That's the first time I've seen that Evil Uno shirt. Where was that from?
That's a crate shirt. I can't remember if it was AEW crate or the regular pro wrestling crate, but I like it a lot. Yeah, I've actually compliments and they don't know it's a wrestling shirt, but they think it's cool.
Yeah, I don't think that I would be clamoring for an Evil Uno shirt to add to my collection, but that's actually not a bad shirt.
The artist did a good job. I think the purple and the black pops. It's a pretty cool design.
Yeah, purple and black does pop, but it doesn't pop like the pink and black does of the hearts. So there you go. Speaking of which, getting a little excited. For everyone who don't know, Starrcast is coming up down in Nashville, and I'll be hoping to finally meet Bret Hart for the first time. I'm sure it'll be a hi, how are you? Good, smile, see ya. But to say that I've got an opportunity to probably meet my favorite wrestler of all time, it's pretty cool. And you've gone to a lot of those conventions. What's something that I should kind of expect?
Craziness. The lines are always pretty bad, and just don't expect to get too much time with any one person because you're basically getting herded through. It's try to take what you can, but it's also one of those things where you got 100 people behind you too. So it's kind of tough. And hopefully everybody's, been prepared and brought their deodorant because a lot of times these events get a little stinky.
Okay, I'll make sure to have my deodorant. And yeah, as of right now, and Starrcast is one of those events that a lot of the major players, you had to buy your opportunity to meet them. Or there's no just walking up and handing money to a lot of these talents. You have to purchase your ticket ahead of time. But there are going to be some talents out there, and I can't wait to see some of them. I know they just announced like Pillman Jr. and Alex Shelley. Tanel Dashwood's been announced recently. Some of those you can just walk up and kind of pay for. So interesting to see how that all plays out and see some of the great merchandise that perhaps hard to find and I haven't been able to find before. So
yeah, I would assume with it being as big as event as it is that it's going to be pretty crowded. But one of the cool things is there's always people that will stop and talk to you while you're in line. It's a good way to meet wrestling fans and kind of bond over some of the silly situations that you have to go through together, like standing in line behind the crazy people or people being rude, and you kind of like chuckle about things that are going on and you just kind of let things go. But that's a pretty cool part too, because it's kind of wrestling fans are kind of different than a lot of other fans, but at a event like that, everybody's pretty well on the same team, if you will. So it's definitely a good time.
Yeah, it's SummerSlam weekend, so Nashville's going to be pretty crazy. And I think the Saturday that I'm going, and I do believe, I could be totally wrong, I think we looked this up. SummerSlam, I think, is on a Saturday night again.
Yeah.
So I expect them to try to get a lot of it done early because they're not going to want to try to compete with the SummerSlam crowd. I think there's a 3-mile difference between the stadium and the fairgrounds where Starrcast is going to be. And I plan on doing my best to try to be back sitting on the couch, making that 2.5-hour drive home before SummerSlam starts. So hopefully I'm able to do that.
Yeah, I wish I was going, but Squared Circle Expo took it all from me. So maybe if they come close again in the next year or two, I'll try to hit that up. But I wish I would have known in advance. Maybe I could have planned a little bit better. But
now, since the last time we spoke, one of WWE's rising stars of the year, Cody Rhodes, has now been injured, and he's going to be out for 9 months with a torn labrum. Or what is it? It is labrum. Pectoral muscle. Yes, pectoral muscle. And 9 months he's going to be out. And it is terrible timing for him because he was the face of Monday Night Raw. And the Hell in a Cell, when you look at that card and you didn't have Rousey and Roman and Drew and Randy and Brock, it was Cody and Seth who kind of sold out that show in Chicago. And I just kind of worries me right now when I look at Cody and, how Vince is sometimes, if Vince is still around in 9 months, that Vince will pause his push. And I hate to see that because Cody was somebody that I thought was probably going to be a world champion in the next year.
I don't think they're going to at all, barring crazy backstage shenanigans. I look at it right now as he will be bigger and badder when he comes back because of what he endured, what he went through in Hell in a Cell. I just think that people are going to be waiting and hoping. I mean, think about, the fan base that's out there can wait a lot longer for somebody they really like to return. I mean, just look at CM Punk. So, 7 years, people were still chanting him in the arenas, and it wasn't even a prayer that he was going to come back until just recently. So when people know Cody will be back, I mean, they're waiting for that. I know me as a fan, I can't wait to see what happens when he comes back. What story are they going to tell? There's a lot of things that could happen, but if you look at the merch that they're still pushing on their website, I mean, they just dropped a new poster today, the autographed Cody limited 150. It was only $75, but it's a art print that he autographed. It's pretty sweet. They're constantly adding new merchandise for him because I believe he's one of their top sellers, even though he's not there. And I think they can tell a huge difference because, I mean, there's no hype for what's going on Monday Night Raw since he's gone. There's nothing. So I think they'll be glad to get him back.
It's just terrible timing. Like I said, and that's the other part. We thought that would be the end of the Seth Rollins feud. Now Seth kind of took him out even more. So I think that when he comes back, here we go. He's going to feud with Seth again to try to finish off that feud. It's just the WWE's in a weird spot right now. They haven't done a really good job of getting some faces ready. Spent a lot of time over the last few years developing Brock, even his new character persona. Drew was hot there for a while. Big E got the small run there for a while. Of course, he's out injured, which I did see where he got the neck brace off. So hopefully sooner than later, that's a good and positive sign that he'll be back. But with Roman as the champion right now, you kind of look at it and we know Drew's challenged him at the Clash at the Castle. I think it's what it's called. Riddle's getting his shot on SmackDown this week for the championship. But if he loses, he can never get another shot as part of the storyline. And I look at SummerSlam. Who's the match for Roman there? It has to be Orton, correct?
I mean, you would think. There's nobody that they've got right now that's going to be of that caliber, and I think that's a problem that they have right now with both shows, especially with Roman not being there too. What's the main programs? Maybe they're going to do something great with Gunther, but it's not there yet. So, if you look at, the whole process of what they're there to do, they're there to win championships. They're there to, make the money. That's the story. Well, if there's no ultimate championship for them to win, or there's less opportunities for people to be able to get to that, I think that creates a very boring televised show. And I think that's a problem right now. I was excited when they unified the titles and Roman was the champ, but now that he's not even going to be there every week, I don't know that was the greatest idea, because somebody needs to be the mainstay on the show that's carrying these shows. And with Cody out now too, they have nobody. So all of it, I think, is bad timing. But they've got to figure out how to build somebody up quickly or bring somebody back, whether it's Orton or Brock or whoever. Somebody needs to get back in that picture to make things interesting, because right now Raw has nothing interesting for me.
But you could do it. And it kills me that they just don't elevate the secondary titles. I mean, would it be that bad for Seth Rollins to be your Intercontinental Champion and to main event shows right and left? I really thought the Machine was really going to get behind Theory. He's with McMahon. He's in a high-profile match at WrestleMania. And there's a part of me that thinks he's going to get John Cena perhaps at SummerSlam, and that could be a pretty big match for him too. But if the secondary titles meant something, I mean, Ricochet, that's the first time I think they stated Ricochet or the United States Championship. That was Intercontinental. That's right. Ricochet had the Intercontinental. Had not been defended on the pay-per-view all year.
Right.
We're in June.
Yep. But that's the problem. I mean, those titles don't matter. And I don't think you can make them matter in 1 to 2 weeks. I think it's going to have to be a consistent program where they're featured in a top spot and some entertaining segments. I think Gunther's the guy that can do it. I really do. I don't know if they have the same vision for him as what a lot of people do, and that worries me. But Seth Rollins would be perfect to lead the show on Raw. I would hate to end Theory's run as United States champion, but just being honest, I don't think he's enough to elevate Monday Night Raw to where it needs to be under these circumstances. So maybe he does need to lose it to someone like a Seth Rollins. I mean, even Lashley, if Lashley wins that championship, I don't see that being what they need for Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, you've got to have a yin to the yang, though. So you could start pushing Gunther, but he's got to have somebody for him to feud against that people care about. And to me, on SmackDown, the only person really is Drew. And they were already announced that Drew's going to probably wrestle. He's already challenged Roman coming up. And then on the other side of it, Theory's a heel. He could be a babyface soon if you did the right steps. Don't get me wrong. But I would almost have him, if you're going to have him lose it like in a 4-way or a 3-way so he doesn't get pinned. To me, I think that's a good way. Someone like Kevin Owens, who again, there's another person who was red hot at WrestleMania, and now he's feuding with Ezekiel. I know you kind of like the Ezekiel stuff. You think it's kind of funny. But it's fine. It shouldn't be Kevin Owens who's in that kind of storyline.
I don't have a problem with it being Kevin Owens if you have Cody Rhodes. But now that we don't have Cody Rhodes, what Kevin Owens is doing is a waste of his talent, even though I find it highly entertaining and I love it. I'm hoping that they bring in somebody like Aaron Stevens next week to play Elias, and it's this great scenario where Kevin Owens just loses his mind. Of course, everyone else goes along with the fact that it's Elias, and I'm all about that storyline, but it's bad timing for it because they need someone like Kevin Owens to be that main event person, and that's unfortunate because I really do like this storyline. So I don't know. We'll see what they do.
And Aaron Stevens, of course, is the Damian Sandow. And, he did a lot of impersonations back in the day. Now, Ezekiel said something kind of kind of interesting. He did state that Elias would be back, even though he's gotten a little older looking. So I'm interested to see who they kind of have out there to play him. It should be interesting, but I'm ready for that storyline to kind of wrap up. Now, Money in the Bank's coming up. We don't know all the participants yet, but if you were the WWE, who would you have as your female and male winners?
If I'm making the decision, Orton's winning the Money in the Bank, if at all possible.
Would this be his third or second?
Third, I think. I could be wrong. As far as females, if I was picking, it would be Shotzi Blackheart.
Okay. See your male. I cannot see your female as much as I love Shotzi. And I thought her performance against Rousey a couple weeks ago showed that she should be more into this title picture. And that's there's no one for Ronda right now. I mean, there's not. I don't know what the holdup is with Bayley. But Bayley is somebody that, if she's ready, should be already inserted back into that. She could have filled that role because no one, as much as of a good worker Natalya is, no one's caring about Natalya. I feel like we're going to head towards a Becky Lynch win on the women's side. They love that, her and Bianca. I mean, they love that matchup. But I would have Bayley, if I was booking, show up, win the Money in the Bank, like have a mystery person of who could it be. It'd be Bayley. She wins it, and she's your Money in the Bank for the women. And then on the male side, I've always liked the possibility of elevating someone with the Money in the Bank. They did a great job with Punk with it years ago, Edge, even Dolph when he cashed it in before he got that concussion. It's I can see it playing out that Riddle loses to Roman, but yet he wins the Money in the Bank briefcase. Because technically he's not supposed to get another shot. And that would give him the shot. And I kind of like that. Then you can start teasing, is he going to cash in on Randy and Roman? And start that little bit of feuding a little bit. I'm one of those guys though that really likes RK Bro as a tag team, and I don't like them not being a tag team. But I think Riddle's right now with Cody being, of course, if Cody was healthy, he'd be the guy. But if not, Riddle may be the hottest other baby face that they've kind of got going right now.
Yeah, and I'm with you with RK Bro. But unfortunately, with Cody gone, I feel like that hurts a lot of different things that are going on, that they may need to utilize their best talent. And I think that's Orton. I don't know. I mean, they've just done so silly things with AJ lately that, yeah, he could win something like that and be put into that title picture at any day. And I'm sure he'd have great matches with whoever, but they've done so much to his character to where I don't care what AJ's doing. And I hate that, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. So that does not excite me at all. And I don't know, what are they going to do with Edge? I mean, if they're going a different direction with Edge, does he somehow get into the title picture because they don't have Cody? And they
Talk
feel
about
like
a waste of time. The whole Edge Judgment Day storyline was a complete waste of time. If that was the payoff, because of the fact that, and good for Edge, I mean, we didn't need a supernatural issue with it anyway. I hated the name Judgment Day. But, man, what a terrible, terrible story that was.
Yeah, I mean, it was like one of those where each week you gave it the benefit of the doubt, and I was hoping it would turn into something, and it just never did. And then when they did the turn, it was just like, oh, well, at least that part of it's over. Now what are they doing?
Yeah. Now, here's another thing, too. because I would assume that Seth is going to continuously be the top heel on Raw, especially with Roman kind of just doing his own thing. So who would be somebody that Seth can feud with? Well, there is Cena, too. Maybe Theory doesn't get the Cena match. And then there is, again, Riddle. So maybe Riddle wins, and then Seth is so mad, he starts feuding with Riddle over this briefcase. Because it's so frustrating when you see someone like AEW. And don't get me wrong, for everyone that's watching this, AEW doesn't use the talent the way that they should either. They went out and signed all these people, and they can't seem to push those people or decide what they're doing with them either. There's almost like these companies have too many people. But I don't believe that WWE did at the time. I believe they could have very well pushed a Keith Lee, an Adam Cole, an Undisputed Era. They could have pushed all these people with no problems at all. They just totally carrying cross, and they just blew it. But we have got to get to a point where we are making the new stars. I know they were high on Brian Breaker for a while, but I feel like that they're kind of tweening off on him a little bit. Because there for a while, I thought he'd already be on the main roster the way that they were kind of pushing him. So they obviously kind of either slowed down or saw something that they didn't like. They're going to continuously put people in there like Cameron Grimes, who's a really great worker, Apollo Crews, who's a solid worker, and Dolph to kind of get him ready a little bit. So,
yeah, Ron's got all the potential in the world, and in a way, I'm glad they're not rushing it. But in the same instance, here we are, fickle fans here. I kind of wish he was on the main roster because it would be something exciting. But it's all on how they decide to portray him and what they got storyline for him going forward. But to me, there's a lot of opportunity for good storylines because there's really nothing going on. So.
Oh, we want to send out a congratulations. Not sure if she'll see this, to former guest Roxanne Perez, who's doing a fantastic job on NXT right now. Who just captured the tournament and should be getting a title shot of her choice soon. She's looked really good in NXT, and I think they're doing a really good job with her and talent like Cora Jade. And now that Indy Hartwell's kind of back in the fold too, let's see what she can do. So that seems like the NXT women's division just keeps restacking.
Yeah, I think it's doing a good job, and I feel like they're taking it a lot more serious than what we get on the main roster right now. So there's at least that hope there. I definitely think that they feel like they got a good group of women down there that can potentially make them some money in the near future. So hopefully that stays the course so they'll actually be utilized to their potential. I wish they would have that same focus on the main roster. Having your main women dealing with a 24/7 championship is not the way to do it. Whether it's part of the story of Becky's downfall or whatever they're trying to tell, it should have just never happened. And to most of the fans, I think they look at that as they could care less about the women's division right now.
Yeah.
So that's a scary thing in my opinion.
And that is one thing about the NXT women. A lot of them are very, very young, so you don't have to rush them. Roxanne's had great success for Ring of Honor, and wrestling, down for Reality of Wrestling with Booker T, but she's very young, and so there's no sense of really rushing her. Let her start off and get her feet wet and maneuver. Same thing with Cora Jade. She's young too. I think most of the women down in NXT are under the age of 25, which is great. And so good things down there. Good things. Well, for myself and Tom, again, thanks everyone for joining us. Make sure y'all hitting the subscribe button. We got some really good shows coming up in the next week or two. And we're also really stressed with and stretched with the shoot jobs over the next week or two. So hopefully everyone's enjoying our content. And hopefully we'll be out to some shows soon. If y'all see us, make sure y'all say hi. I'll be glad to talk to everybody. Anyone's going down to Starrcast, let me know. Got some big shows coming up around the area. Should have went to AEW tonight. It's over in St. Louis. Probably should have tried to hit that one up. It's one of those we didn't know we were off. Silver's there.
Yeah, he went to some kind of work function or whatever in St. Louis, so he was gonna. Yeah, he said it worked out great. He was gonna get to go to Dynamite.
Man, and we've got some other people that we're gonna start bringing on to the show real soon, and try to get some more of their opinions as well. Not actual wrestlers, but wrestling fans. We love to hear what the fans have to say sometimes. So stay tuned for some of that content as well. For myself and Tom, everyone stay safe, and we will see y'all next week.